School of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC 007 Business Communication for MBA program. Presenting Block 2 Oral Communication at Work, Unit-6 Interpersonal Communication Part-2. In Part 1, we have discussed Introduction, defining interpersonal communication, significance of interpersonal communication, principles of interpersonal communication, and barriers to interpersonal communication. In Part 2, we will discuss interpersonal communication models, emotional intelligence and interpersonal communication, interpersonal communication styles, interpersonal and personal management skills, and summary. Let's listen to Part 2.
Interpersonal communication models. Models are the diagrams that are useful in analyzing the process of communication. These models help one who is trying to understand, diagnose, and perhaps repair a communication process. In this section, we will discuss 5 models that can help us to understand interpersonal communication in a better way. One-way model. This is perhaps the oldest model of communication. It is based on Aristotle's rhetoric. Theories revolving around this framework are termed the classical rhetoric and built around theories of argumentation as well as persuasion. The model emphasizes the sender's need to consider the right techniques to present the right message to the right audience. An example of a one-way communication model would be listening to TV or radio broadcasts where a message is communicated from the sender to the receiver in one direction. Though the model is simple, it provides a theory of composition and communication for both oral and written discourse with an emphasis on persuasion. Despite limitations, it serves as a useful diagnostic tool. The major strength of this tool is that it emphasizes the significance of the receiver. Interaction model. The model was given by Wilbur Schramm in the year 1997 and builds upon the linear model of communication. Combining the ideas of several communication theorists, the interaction model was an upgradation of the one-way model. The model included 4 more concepts to the existing model. First, channel. Second, encoding and decoding. Third, noise. And fourth, feedback. The participants take turns being the sender and receiver. They create meaning by sending and receiving messages in both physical and psychological settings. The approach rejects communication as a one-way linear process and instead adds feedback, making communication more interactive and a two-way process. In this model, the channel represents the source through which the message is sent. It can be verbal and non-verbal. Media represents various tools such as letters, memos, mobile phones, televisions, and social media websites. Feedback includes a return loop by which the sender receives reactions. It answers various questions that occur in the speaker's mind like, is my audience happy with my speech? Are my customers convinced with the product details I shared with them, etc. The inclusion of a feedback loop allows a more complex understanding of the roles of participants in a communication encounter. However, sometimes excess feedback may also harm the communication process. In some instances, a sender has to think through encode, and send the information without being distracted by the feedback. Hence, though feedback can be used as an aid to understanding the impact of the communication process, one needs to use other concepts included in the model as well. As the name suggests, the interaction model of communication is more interaction focused. It does not judge communication as effective or ineffective, rather acknowledges that communication is nuanced and complex. It encourages the speaker to use feedback for stimulating further questions like, why is my boss not replying to my email? Why is my audience not looking interested, etc. This helps in improving the effectiveness of an overall communication process. Though the interaction model came up as a major improvement over the one-way communication model, it did not consider a few significant observations, which are: first, communication process does not happen sequentially, that is, one step at a time as highlighted in the prior communication models. Second, in the process of communication, the participants act both as sender and receiver simultaneously. Third, role of self and others' perception. And fourth, communication context. The other models were later developed to fill these gaps. Two-person relationship model. Although the interaction model was a major improvement over a one-way model, it had its own drawbacks. In terms of the communication process, the points this model ignored were: first, communication process does not happen sequentially, that is, one step at a time as highlighted in the prior communication models. Second, in the process of communication, the participants act both as sender and receiver simultaneously. Third, it excluded senders and receivers' perceptions of each other and themselves. And fourth, the wider social and organizational settings in which the communication takes place. According to the two-person relationship model, the communication process is reciprocal. The sender's views of and behavior towards the receiver are simultaneously affecting and being affected by the receiver. Using this model as a diagnostic tool, we will be able to understand how the communication process is related to human behavior. In general, human beings tend to reach cause and effect conclusions. For example, Mr. A has slowed down on the project work because his project leader was not open to taking his recommendations. This is the most convenient one-way cause and effect explanation. However, in doing this, we ignore the possibility of Mr. A as not looking any more inspiring to the project leader. This could be because Mr. A's lagging enthusiasm and output make him assume that his suggestions do not deserve much attention. The two-person relationship model suggests that we must look not only at the explicit behavior, but also at how each perceives the other. According to this model, people tend to behave in ways that confirm their self-perceptions. The model illustrates the strong influence of self-perception on behavior. Hence, self-perception, the perceptual point of view, and the interdependence of two on each other constitute the key ideas in this model. Transaction model of communication. With the progress in communication studies, scholars started viewing communication as more than a process that is used to carry on conversations and convey meaning. They observed that all communication happens within some kind of context. While the earlier three models emphasize the importance of looking into the individuals and their communication behavior, the transaction model of communication included the conceptualization of communication, the role of sender and receiver, and the role of context. The transaction model of communication describes communication as a process in which communicators generate social realities within social, relational, and cultural contexts. The model revealed three new factors, and these are: first, group characteristics. The factors that exist in the group or groups to which the communication belongs, such as the norms of behavior a group establishes and expects its member to follow them. Second, organizational structure and culture. This includes the organization's design, policies, rules, hierarchy, traditions, values, etc. Third, task characteristics. This includes the nature of work or the problem about which the communication is taking place. The model asserts that we do not only communicate to exchange messages, but we communicate to develop connections, form intercultural alliances, shape our self-percepts, and engage in discussions with others to form communities. Unlike the interaction model, which assumes that players switch roles as sender and receiver, the transaction model assumes that we are both senders and receivers at the same time. The transaction model also includes a more complex understanding of context. It prompts us not to simply hunt for an ideal or an offender in a complex situation. Since the transaction model of communication views communication as a result of the multiple forces and functional interdependence, it discourages us from judging good and bad until we thoroughly understand it. Before shaping our opinions, the model urges us to see communication as having multiple rather than single explanations, to see interdependencies, to seek a relationship between communication and the context in which it occurs. Unlike the interactive model, which suggests that participants alternate positions as sender and receiver, the transaction model suggests that we are simultaneously senders and receivers. Emotional intelligence and interpersonal communication. Let us now discuss the concept of emotional intelligence and its relationship with interpersonal communication. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize one's own and others' emotions, to differentiate between them, and to accurately categorize them. It aids in determining how to act responsibly in light of this knowledge. People with high EI score have better mental health, superior job performance, and more effective leadership skills, according to studies. In 1995, Daniel Goleman coined the phrase emotional intelligence in his book Emotional Intelligence: Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. According to him, there are 5 areas of attention. First, self-awareness. Second, emotion management. Third, self-motivation. Fourth, understanding emotions in others. Fifth, relationship management. Relationship between emotional intelligence and interpersonal communication. Research reveals that unhealthy communication patterns affect the growth of emotional intelligence. The people, families, groups that discourage conflict, self-expression, and assertiveness may not develop the essential skills of expressiveness and receptiveness, the two significant models of successful communication. On the contrary, the people, families, groups that share a healthy exchange of ideas, discuss with each other before making decisions, have enough open areas to build positive interpersonal communication with others. The following tips might be helpful in maintaining good interpersonal relationships with others. First, assess one's assumptions before passing judgments. Second, do not take refusals personally. Third, do not typecast people. Fourth, learn from the people who are better than you rather than considering them as a threat. Fifth, never act based on preconceived notions. Interpersonal communication styles. Choosing a communication style is significant in making interpersonal communication impactful. Effective communicator understands that there are a few styles that may work more effectively than others. There are 6 main styles of interpersonal communication used in business settings. These are: first, dominant style. A dominant style is normally a one-way form of communication. The person is perceived to be low at listening skills. They are not receptive to feedback. In a normal situation, it can alienate employees. Second, egalitarian style. In contrast to the dominant style, an egalitarian style is a form of two-way communication that involves sharing information rather than directing behavior. It is used to encourage others to express their ideas and opinions in order to reach a mutual understanding. In most situations, particularly when cooperation is needed, it is more effective than the controlling style. Third, systematic style. The systematic style of interpersonal communication is used to establish schedules or impose organization. Managers using this style would be likely to cite company standards or rules. The systematic style is useful for project planning and when working with strict deadlines. Fourth, inspirational style. The dynamic inspirational style is used to motivate people to act. This style can be effective in crisis situations, but it is generally ineffective when the receivers do not have enough knowledge or experience to take the required action. Fifth, passive style. The manager is differential rather than directive and shifts responsibilities to the team members. Sixth, the avoidance style. This style lacks communication. Managers using this style try to avoid using their influence and may indicate a disinterest or unwillingness to participate in the discussion. Interpersonal and personal management skills. Interpersonal and personal management skills are essential as they are associated with our performance. It involves a set of flexible skills that can be improved through practice. Emotional intelligence plays a key role in helping us manage behavior, navigate social complexities, and make personal decisions that achieve positive results. Following are a few ways through which we can improve our interpersonal communications. First, self-awareness. Being aware of the different aspects of self, including traits, behavior, and feelings. Second, self-management. Ability to use your emotional awareness to direct your behavior positively and productively. Third, social awareness. To read the emotions of others and react accordingly. Fourth, relationship management. Manage relationships through an awareness of your emotions as well as the emotions of others. Fifth, building communication skills. Learn to apply the right language and right style. Sixth, be empathetic. Consider the other person's perspective while interacting. Seventh, active listening. Do not be judgmental while conversing. Eighth, avoid stereotyping. Create a welcoming environment free from bias. Summary. Healthy interpersonal communication minimizes conflicts and promotes trust and positivity. Within organizations, communication flow, information overload, international operations, cultural diversity, etc. make communication increasingly complicated. In such situations, diagnostic models of interpersonal communication can serve as a useful aid to understanding the problem and resolve them. The constructive way of improving interpersonal communication is to enhance one's EI, that is, emotional intelligence. There are various strategies of interpersonal communication to adopt, keeping relationships, contexts, and sequences in mind.
You are listening to audiobook by School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code MMPC 007 Business Communication. Block 2, Unit-6, Part-2. Course Coordinator Professor Neeti Agrawal from School of Management Studies IGNOU. Voiceover by Santosh Bharati. Edited by Tarannum Jahan. Program assisted by Jagbandhu Jana. And program produced by Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.